Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you know, trying to keep up with the regularly scheduled podcasting program, and today's is shorter than some of them have been. And reason being is just because I could talk on this for a really long time, but I want to keep it short. I want to keep it short and informational and executable is essentially what we're looking for. So today we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, obviously a huge, huge buzzword that is everyone has questions, everyone has reasons, everyone has curiosities, everyone has misconceptions. And we want to do what we can. We are heavy AI users for a lot of different reasons. And that's the main purpose of this podcast. We pose questions from time to time in different threads, whether it be on Reddit, it be on our own channels, it be different places. We ask these questions because we want to know genuinely what are people asking, what do people want to know, what are some of the misconceptions about AI, and then in that same thought process, what is being said about AI that we may be able to clarify or clean up. And we consider ourselves at the most leading edge we can possibly be for what we do in terms of AI. Again, we use AI a lot for a lot of various different reasons, from creation to thought to implementation to automation. We use AI and integrate AI for a lot of our clients on the agency side. So that being said, let's dive straight in. And we're really going to talk first about misconceptions. And then I'll go a little bit deeper on those specifics. So we're going to kind of do a true or false in the beginning. So number one, is one AI platform better than another AI platform? Is this true or is this false? This is true and false, but I would say more false than true. The reason is people want to gravitate towards a certain platform, whether it is the one they started with or the one that they had good output out of for one thing, or they heard someone say that. They heard someone say Gemini. Gemini is the best AI platform out there. That is a very broad and very blanket statement, and I would disagree. I do not think that Gemini is the greatest AI platform out there. I think it is a fantastic platform, but I don't think that people should get stuck only using Gemini. Next, AI searches or AI inquiries are overtaking Google inquiries. That is false. Are we seeing a uptick in ChatGPT, Gemini, or AI queries where people are asking those questions or certain questions? Yes, there is definitely an uptick, but it is still, to this date, the most recent data I have, 80%. 80% are still going to Google looking for where they're going to eat pizza or search for a plumber or decide where they're going to take the kids for the weekend. They're still going to Google. 80+% of the time, they are still going to Google. Now, most of us know that Google has some integration with AI. There'll be like an AI response. But people are still navigating or typing into Google, vast majority of them over AI. So on that same train of thought, that you as a business owner need to be doing something different to ensure that you show up in AI search results. This in its rawest form is false. There are some things that have changed. You do want to ensure that you do appear, you want to appear, but there is not a submittal process. We've had that question a lot, is like, are you submitting our information to AI engines? They don't say engines, but are you submitting our business and our information, like just like you would start a Google My Business profile and be able to collect reviews, things like that. Something that there is some type of portal where your information needs to be submitted to these AI platforms, and that is not true. That is false. What has changed, and we're going to dive into it a little deeper, is simply how your website maybe is built, how some of your listings are built, and specifically the things you are saying. And we're going to dive into that in just a second. But you do not submit yourself to AI platforms. You cannot train AI platforms and just tell it over and over again that you're the best plumber in a certain city, and then all of a sudden it's going to tell everybody that. That's a misconception, and that is certainly not true. Next, what would be next? You know what? Let's go straight to kind of diving into some of those things. So when we talk about the best AI platform, what is the one you should be on? Recently, I was having a conversation, and someone had made the comment that Gemini is and I use that as my example for a reason. Gemini is the best platform that you all should be on, because, and there was explanations and things like, one of the main ones is that it's a Google product. It's integrated into Google, and that's where everybody's at and everybody's searching. And Gemini is quickly surpassing ChatGPT. And that's simply not true. ChatGPT is by far the largest. It has the most user base. It has the most queries every single day. And I'm talking by millions and millions and millions. Will Gemini surpass them? Possibly. Are they close right now? No, not at all. I think the last time I looked, it was somewhere 1.6 or 2 million. I can tell you right now, we're live on this podcast. I will look. Chat GPT queries per day versus Gemini. We're just going to enter it right now, and we're going to look it up, and I'm going to read it to you exactly as it comes out. ChatGPT processes over, so I was way off. I said million. That's crazy that I even said that. ChatGPT processes over 1 to 2.5 billion, with a B, folks, queries daily. It has approximately 158 to 190 million active users per day. Gemini has roughly 35 million active users per day. So 35 million compared to 158 to 190 million. So it is, ChatGPT counts for approximately 60% of all AI related traffic. And that is compared to, you go, Gemini's at 40. And it's like, no, it's not 60 to 40. It's 60 versus everybody else that is an AI platform. So it is not, there. As of late 2025, here's the next one. I'm looking for the queries. Yes. Yeah. So you get where I'm going is with this, is like, there's no data to suggest that one platform, and I'm only obviously comparing Gemini and Claude, and Gemini and ChatGPT, and there are others. I mentioned Claude just there. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but that is a misconception. I think that Gemini is great. I love that it is integrated into Google. I think there's more data there than they're even probably letting off. I was having this conversation yesterday, is that I would assume that there's even ad data. People run ads on Google. And so for Google to be a Google product, Google Ads be a Google product, Google Gemini being a Google product, that there has to be, I would assume, some correlation. They haven't admitted that or said that, but I'm just going to assume that some of that data it is pulling is based off of some of the ads that are being ran. So going into the next one, is one better than the other? It depends on your use case. Depends on what you are wanting your AI to do. I do believe that there are platforms that are better at some things than others. And that's why we regularly, every single day, I am in Claude, I am in Gemini, and I'm in ChatGPT, and others. Others that are more specific to maybe certain types of graphic creation, certain types of video creation, certain types of critical thinking. I will go into others because number one is I don't want to get caught in a lane of like, this is the only one I use, and so it's the only output I'm getting. But I have a list, and I'm going to go through it really quickly. So Claude, that some of you may not have heard of, it was built by Anthropic, and you can go do the research on Anthropic and where they got started. It's fascinating. Claude is great at writing and editing with a specific style. Once you have told it what your style is and what that nuance should be, Claude is a fantastic writing AI large language model. It is my opinion, it is the best in terms of writing. If you're needing to write a document or you're needing to write a brief or a summary or a research, it is fantastic at writing. I'm not telling you students that might watch this to go use it to write your papers. I'm saying that for us as business owners and entrepreneurs, to get that rough draft going and get us started, I think it's fantastic. It is really good at following complex and very detailed instructions, which is the difference with any AI of having a good outcome and a not so great AI outcome, is the details that you're giving it. And Claude is fantastic with following very specific instructions step by step. It is really good at analysis and reasoning. So you give it a problem or you tell it what you're dealing with. It could be about a document, it could be business, it could be business plan, it could be scale, it could be any of those topics that you want to plug into it. It is very, very thoughtful in its analysis. And I've noticed that, and everything that I'm telling you now is not from some assumption. It is from practice. It is from execution. It is, I've done these things. I have tested these things on all of the platforms that I'm mentioning to see what the output and the outcome was. To be fair, the things that Claude struggles with, it is overly cautious and conservative. So it will sometimes reel some things in when you want it to be maybe more aggressive in the language, or you want it to push the limits of its research, or you want it to push its limits of you're talking to it about scaling your business, and it's taken a very conservative, reserved approach to doing that. But you can tell it to go a little deeper, go a little further. As long as you're guiding it, you ultimately control that. It has very few third-party integrations, and we'll cover the ones that more are beneficial for third-party integrations. That has very few third-party integrations. So if you're wanting to connect Claude with some other services, applications, it's going to struggle with that. Sometimes Claude will also decline or fail tasks that it actually can handle. And I don't know specifically if that's a server issue, it's a query issue, it's a prompt issue. Usually I can get it to work if I rework what I said to it, or I ask it, you didn't finish this, you're only partly finished this, let's continue that thought process. Or, I'll even ask it sometimes, where did we go wrong here to stop at the point we stopped at? And it'll give me that answer. And I can rework it to get to where I need to go. But let's go into ChatGPT, kind of pros and cons. ChatGPT is versatile across a lot of different tasks. Whereas I mentioned like Claude excels in like that writing aspect and really sticking to a nuance and style. ChatGPT can write as well, and it's very versatile. When I'm comparing the two, I would do my writing and some of my research in Claude because it's much more analytical in my opinion. But ChatGPT is very versatile for a lot of different things. It's the largest platform. It has the largest knowledge base. It has the biggest kind of just overall usage on a daily basis, and it's using all that info to give you information back. ChatGPT is great for coding and technical problem solving. If you are building out your website, if you're trying to integrate some type of widget, you're trying to code maybe AI automation or chatbots or things like that, ChatGPT is really good at doing those things. It has a large ecosystem and kind of like plugin and tool library. It is, again, the original, right? So it has all of these like third-party integrations that you can have ChatGPT receive something from another platform and then start doing what it needs to do and then send that as like an email response. Like there's so many different triggers and things that you can build out. Most people are playing with AI, but there it goes so deep of what you can do with AI. And this is one of those things that these third-party integrations and the simpler ones would be like a Zapier or something like that, but it goes way deeper than that. But you can imagine someone sends an inquiry through your website for a quote request. It drops then into ChatGPT to analyze what they asked for. You have coded it with certain parameters, or then ChatGPT writes a description, sends that back to your estimating software, and your estimating software drafts it, sends it back to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT then sends that to your prospect. And you didn't lift a finger. It was done at 10 a.m. in the morning, 10 p.m. at night. It happens. And it is possible. These are the next layers of what AI could be doing in your business. But coding and technical problem solving and huge ecosystem of plugins. ChatGPT struggles with being wordy and repetitive, especially the new variations of ChatGPT. It frustrates me at times. I have to literally tell it, like, stop asking me questions and just do what I'm telling you to do. And that's when I've made posts about sometimes I'm a little aggressive with my AI bots, and they love me, but I have to push them. And ChatGPT, I would say, is the worst about that. And sometimes people may look at it and go, I want it to ask me questions and I want it to do this, but sometimes you really have to go back and be like, simplify this and stop asking me so many questions. Just do what I ask you to do, and then we can create some tweaks and variations from there. Versus it just goes, here you go. This is what you asked for, and then you can make the tweaks. It's like there's some extra steps there. ChatGPT will state incorrect information with absolute confidence. We have fact checked a lot of the things that we have asked ChatGPT, and it will. We know this because it is, and it is not. So you have to be careful with some of its info that is pulling, specifically statistics, numbers, dates. We have seen some of those things be absolutely incorrect. And if you're one of those copy and pasters straight out of ChatGPT, then you may have a problem. That's why I'm always cautious when I see people using text and copy directly from ChatGPT in their social media posts or in their emails or on their website. I can pick it out in a heartbeat that it was AI generated, and if I can do that, others can, and even more so, algorithm can. And so be careful of that. ChatGPT struggles with like consistency between its different model versions. Obviously, there's different model versions of most AIs, but we've just noticed a lack of consistency, whether it be in imagery, in writing, in style, in research, just an inconsistency across them. As a new model may come out, or we're using the fast model versus the technical model, we've just noticed inconsistencies there compared to some of the others when it comes to staying consistent across the board. So Gemini, let's cover that one. We're not obviously going through all of them. We're going through the kind of top 3 that are on our list. Gemini is great at real-time web search and information gathering. Again, it is a Google product. It is connected to Google search. And so I agree with that sentiment that in terms of like doing research, Gemini is fantastic. If you're asking it specific questions about like industry or Google searches or things along those lines, Gemini is amazing. And that's probably one of the main reasons we use Gemini is when we're trying to gather data or information. Gemini is great with any Google integrations, obviously. So if you want to integrate it with Gmail, Gmail Workspace, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, obviously fantastic with any of those. Those other ones, you're going to need some type of third-party integration. Like ChatGPT, you would need a Zap through Zapier to connect those two things. But it is great with that. It is awesome with handling images and kind of multi-model content. So if you're wanting it to generate imagery or graphics or a poster, even a little video clip. I posted one on my personal this morning of everyone was doing the caricature yesterday and the day before, and I was like, yeah, I'll jump on that. Usually we're in AI to work, and so I don't play with it all the time. And so to sit there and just kind of play with it was fun. And then I took that another step further and I turned it into a quick little video clip of like me and Laura waving. And so Gemini is great with those things. ChatGPT will sometimes give you those errors on generating images, but more specifically video clips. It's like, I can't do this. Like, you've done it before. But Gemini, you tell it to do it and it just does it. It is good at doing those things. Images. I have noticed as of recently, ChatGPT has moved light years in the right direction in terms of image creation. Some of the like 6 fingers and 8 toe kind of thing, misspellings and things like that have gotten a lot better. They're still not perfect. It depends on the quality of the graphic you're giving it. Like if you're giving it your logo and things like that, how easily readable is your logo? How small is the font? Is it high resolution? Things like that. But ChatGPT has gotten a lot better, but I still, in my opinion, I think from a versatility standpoint and from a less AI looking graphic creation, I feel like Gemini does a much better job. And again, y'all, I'm not just telling you this I'm not just saying it out of left field. This is all things that we have tested and continue to test because these AI models change so rapidly, and the technology is just getting better and better and better. And so we're running through these things regularly. So What else? What else? Gemini struggles. Maintaining consistent tone and kind of personality, even if you've trained it with how you want it to talk, and how you want the output to be in terms of writing or copy, text, things like that. We've just noticed that there's a fluctuation there. You go back into the next day or even the same day, you're continuing in the same thread that you were in before, and it's just fluctuating. It being newer, it has had the least refinement consistently. Is there's always little tweaks and little changes that are being made, but it feels like ChatGPT is rolling out updates almost daily. Whereas Gemini is like, it's a product that they have. They know their user base is growing. They're just information gathering at this point. They're not rolling out just a ton of these significant updates all of the time. Last but not least, naturally, it will push Google solutions when others exist and maybe even better ones exist. So you're asking Def how to integrate this or that or move this from here. And I gave you like the invoice example earlier. It may be pushing that like, we should do this in a Google sheet and then your Google sheet and all that. And like you're layering in extra steps when it's not really, you don't have to do all of that. You could use a third-party product that's way better and does exactly what you need to do. But Google Gemini, being a Google product, is going to say you should do this with a Google product, and that's not always the best course of action. Jumping into submitting, we talked about true or false in terms of submitting your website and doing things a certain way. The reason that's false is like SEO, search engine optimization, is still very real and still very relevant. I've heard the term AEO thrown out there, and AI education, AI learning, all these different things. And the reality is when you use AI to do any type of research, let's say you went and asked it for a plumber, where do you think it's getting that information from? The internet. It's doing the same thing that we would always do when we searched on Google, is it's going over and it's searching for plumbers in that area and things like that. So what has become even more important is that you are editing and tweaking your website in terms of search engine optimization, the way that people are asking these questions on these platforms. So where SEO has maybe taken a slight change is it has become answer engine optimization. And that would be how I'd more frame AEO. Is SEO is still what it has always been. It's adding keywords and text and sentences in natural language on your website, not repetitive, not trying to cheat the system and make it white on a white background. That'll get you all flagged. But that you are answering these questions and these queries that are being asked of like, how do I fix this? Or how do I solve that? Or who is the best this? Or who is the best that? Or what are the local this? That you're answering the questions the way that the people are asking them. And that is how you are going to appear in these AI engines, because there's no other way to do it. You're not submitting your company to ChatGPT and saying, hey, make sure you talk about me. It's looking for you on the internet. And if you do not have a good web and social presence, then you are not appearing all the time or as often as you would like to in these AI engines. So nothing has changed there in that sense. SEO is still extremely important, if not more important. If you're concerned with appearing or not appearing in these AI search results, then that is what you should be investing some time, energy, money into, is that ensuring how are people searching, and there are tools to go find that information out. And how am I putting that information back on my website? How am I answering their questions on my website? So when they ask it to an AI platform and the AI platform goes to the internet to search for the answer to that question, my website is populating that. That's what you ultimately want. So that is my 2 cents on AI and where we are at right now. I hope that that was helpful, kind of walking through the platforms, what they are most, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And these things will change. These things will change. User base will change. Number of users, number of queries, all those things feed into these large language models. And they will continue to get better and better. I do not believe, and I've said this before, I do not believe AI is coming to steal your plumbing company. I do not believe AI is coming to steal your financial planning business. I think that plumbers and financial planners that are out learning AI or reaching out to someone like us or bringing us in to integrate AI, I think they'll pass you. I don't think the bot itself is coming for your job. I think that people who know and understand and utilize AI and are not just playing with it to create graphics, they will pass you. They will reach the goals that you're hoping to reach faster. That is what I truly believe about AI. But I do believe that every business should be researching and learning AI and understanding how it can be useful in their business, because time and efficiency in what we all do is extremely important. And what these platforms can do, it's literally like having extra employees, a research team, a graphic design team. And no, it's not all perfect. That's why we still have a job. That's why we still create graphics. That's why we still create video, and why we still create content for social media for ourselves and for clients, and why we still run ads, is because the human element and human touch still needs to be there. And especially knowing how to prompt the AI and ask it the right way, and know how to integrate some of these extracurricular third-party integrations. So my recommendation to you is spend time not just playing an AI, but pushing its limits, trying to understand what it can do for you and what it can't do for you. And I assure you that you will be astonished. And just go ask it. Go ask these platforms, what can you do for me? I'm in this X, Y, or Z business, and this is how I communicate with my customers. This is how I generate leads. This is how I do this or that. What can you do for me that would make my life easier? And you'll be shocked at what those AI responses will come back and do. But again, this was a shorter podcast, but I wanted to ensure we got this out and ran through it and kind of the pros and cons of the different platforms. Answer some questions, some true and false stuff, and I hope it was helpful. We will see you guys on the next Speak Loud podcast. Have a great one.